Some of you may know this, but we failed in our first tech startup called Hoops Connect. And now we're launching ORFI Active soon, where we've learned from all the mistakes that we've made before. And one of those big mistakes was, well, there was a couple, but led to people uninstalling the app. And so today, I'd like to share with you the top reasons that I've learned that make people uninstall their apps. Let's get into it.
Hit me. Look, brother. How you like me now?
So I'm going to cover top 7 reasons, going from the least impactful to the absolute crucial as to why people uninstall their apps. So let's start with number 1, forced social login. We thought that forcing people to log in and sign up with their social accounts will make it quicker, easier, and absolutely seamless to straight get into the app and just do whatever they want to do. What we didn't think about is that we're limiting people of choice, for one, and 2, we're forcing them to use social media even though they wouldn't want to, especially after, Cambridge Analytica and all the other sort of little hacks and everything like that with social media. Some people might not even have social media anymore, or 2, they might not want to trust their data from social media to log into their accounts. So you need to have an option for them to choose whether they want to use social media or use an alternative. And that alternative usually is best to have an email, right? So email sign up and social sign up if they want to. That would get rid of any blockers onto people signing up and just using the app. And that leads to the second point, which is privacy concerns. Now, again, because of the Cambridge Analytica mostly, and because of even recently FaceApp and using your data for numerous things, something like our app that stores some of the data, has payments and stuff like that, you need to really make sure that a person can trust your app with that data. What we've done badly at first of all, we asked for too much information that we weren't necessarily using. We just assumed that we'll need it at some point, and that's the wrong way to do it. So at the moment, we're basically not asking for anything. We're asking just for a name and date of birth, and that's it. So there's literally almost no data that we'll be gathering, and that is the first step to providing trust. And the second thing is provide as much information as you can on your website, on your application, and everywhere else, how you're using the data, how you're storing the data. Make sure they agree to all the terms and conditions, and just make sure that you look legit. Number 3, intrusive ads. Now I get it, every app and everybody needs and wants to make money, and the easiest way to do that is advertising and sponsorships. Please focus on the user first, please focus on the product being the best as it can first, and please focus on building a user base first. If you keep providing value to your user, there will be a lot of different ways to monetize your product, and advertising might be one of them, but just don't overdo it. I see so many apps out there that just release, the app is not great, the product is just not at its best, and it already is full of a variety of ads and the videos and pop-ups and whatever you want, which doesn't even allow you to use the app as it's supposed to, and that will really throw off a lot of people in using your application. On to the next one, bad user interface and user experience. That can be overlooked a lot of times, especially when the product is developed solely by developers, right? This is where I personally come in. I can't stress enough how important the user interface and user experience is in your application. I don't care how complex in the background your app is. A 5-year-old needs to be able to do what you want them to do in your app. If your main thing is to book a flight, you need to make sure that a 5-year-old child can take your phone, press a couple of buttons, and he's off to Barcelona, right? Hopefully that's not the case, but that's how easy it needs to be. Using a lot of tutorial pop-ups, explainers, and everything like that is fine, but it shouldn't be needed. If you need tutorials or explainers for people to understand how to use the app, your UI and UX has failed. It's as simple as that. Number 5, crashes and having an unstable app. That is something that we really struggle with at Hoops Connect. If your app is crashing, if your app is unstable, if your app is slow, you're done. Like, you need to focus on your product so much and making sure that it's quick, it's seamless, it looks nice, right? Everything needs to come together once you release to the public. Because our main issue was with Hoops Connect back in the day, it took longer than 6 seconds for it to load initially. So a lot of people never really even got into the app. Once they got into the app, the flicking between the screens took more than a few seconds. That immediately annoyed people. To load data took time. You know, some places crashed the app, so they needed to go back into the app to finish whatever they have started. All of those things, even the smallest things, they come together. And so we lost a lot of users and got a lot of uninstalls solely based on that. So make sure, even if it's a minimum viable product, even though it doesn't have all the features that you want, make sure that it's fast and it works. Number 6, the registration being too complex. There is nothing worse than opening up the app, you want to play around with it, and then you need to go through a 3-step form of entering numerous data and text and interest and whatever to register and actually get into the app. We require that with Hoops Connect. We require for people to enter the name, surname, date of birth, gender, location, interested sports activities, and all these other things, thinking that if you get this out of the way in the very beginning, the app will be tailored to you specifically forever and ever, right? What we didn't think about is nobody even cares about that until they see your app, right? So what we've done at the moment is you can open up the app, you can play around with the app even without registering, and if you want to use it sort of more in depth, so say creating an event or making a payment, then you need to register. And even then, when you need to register, it's only a few fields. It's not a 3-step process or anything like that. And you can always finish your sign up in your profile. I think that's the best way to do it. You get the crucial stuff out of the way, you get all the nice to haves later on in your profile, but make sure that you hook the users into your app, make sure they're interested and committed to it enough before asking them to register a long form. And so we get to the last one, which is too many push notifications. That can really annoy people. I understand that push notifications are great for retention. I understand that push notifications are great for keeping people in the loop of what's going on and getting people to open up your app constantly. But there's nothing worse than getting a notification every single day. I had apps that had like 3 notifications per day of different things that's going on the app. You need to give a better reason for them to open up the app themselves organically and not through basically blackmailing through push notifications. That just won't work, right? We get so many notifications as it is from Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, what have you, right? People don't need additional push notifications telling about every single detail that happened in the app. Now, I'm not saying not to use push notifications. They still work and they still are needed, but please use them sparingly. Use it once a week, use it as a roundup, use it for something that happens and needs to crucially be communicated to your users. But unless it provides crucial value to the user, please don't use them because you will lose them. So that's it. That's my list for why people uninstall their apps based on my previous experience with Hoops Connect. And I'd be really curious to hear what actually makes you uninstall the apps. Are you part of that list, or is there something that I missed out and I should be aware of when we're releasing ORFI Active? Let me know.